Airplane ride.
Tape 3. First airplane ride.
Okay, where were you, Ma?
What year? That's a good one.
Year that when it comes to dates, I don't remember.
About how old were you?
Married?
I was
Kids?
married. We were
Did you have kids?
Eddie Brooks.
Yeah, all her kids were born.
All her kids were born, and Buddy was born in what year? 44?
44.
Yeah, I think we decided that the other day.
Okay.
See, they'll help
Somewhere
me
on there.
figure out
So
the
he was,
date. We were invited to a wedding. Eddie Brooks' son was getting married.
this was sometime in the 50s, you think? Trying to get a time frame. 60s? Somewhere in the 60s. And at this point 60s obviously.
Oh,
Yeah. And Grandpa worked day and night. He worked in the
I flew
in the
in
Clinton
54.
Hill
They flew before
Vegetable
me.
Market.
No,
No,
they did
in
not.
Clinton Avenue.
You mean when you went out
He
to
never
work?
had time to
They
go on
never did that.
vacation. The
Oh.
only vacation he had was Sunday to
Oh.
take the children to a quiet park and get the hot dogs. And,
You were young then.
Okay.
When
So,
you went. You were just
At
out of high
that time,
school.
you know, I figured it's time to go on vacation. So I said, and he had a co-worker, Sam Franks. We were friendly with them also personally, and the wife, Eve Franks. So she also wanted to go on vacation, and the two men were workaholics. They just didn't go. So we had discussed it that if the boys don't want to go, the girls would go. So Eve and I decided we're going to go to Florida. So we made up. We had reservations to leave the night of that wedding, midnight. And there was, at that time, the planes weren't, 2.5 hours. I think it took about 6, 7 hours to get there. I don't know what kind of jets they used to call
There were
them
no
at that
jets. They
Oh.
were
Wasn't
prop
a jet.
You went on a
planes.
prop plane.
Okay.
And if you're lucky, you got 2 engines.
Yeah. So we made reservations. We got down to Florida. It was about 5, 6 in the morning. And lo and behold, our reservation, it was snowing up in Jersey, so people didn't want to come back yet. So they stayed in their rooms. So the rooms we were supposed to get was still occupied. We couldn't, so they sent us, we stayed in the lobby for a while, and then finally they sent us to the another hotel to sleep off, and then we went back to the hotel. When we came back, we were there for 2 weeks. Eve Franks and I, we had a wonderful time. We came back, and Eve Franks at that time, like everybody says, I'm a prude, I don't do anything. She taught me how to use makeup and,
Hey.
things, clothes. I came back, I looked different. Grandpa looked at me, and he was shocked, But after that,
He didn't tell you to wash the shit off your face?
no, he did not. He thought it was beautiful. After that, when it came a vacation time, Ben and Gert, Joe and I went every summer on cruises and vacations. Then you couldn't stop him. Then he enjoyed it.
When did planes become
Did you come
popular?
back by train?
When did they become
Yes, because there was a
As far as
strike.
a means of transportation
There was a
everywhere.
strike,
I
so
flew
we
the
came
first
back
time
by
in
train.
54.
In 54. And were everybody else at that point flying? I mean, was that...
I just found out that she had
Yeah.
that. My parents had never flown. I flew before them. I didn't realize that.
But when, I guess my question is, when did people start flying on planes instead of taking trains as regular transportation?
I don't know. You go, guys.
I mean, when did you see
Around the time
planes
I took
being...
the first plane? That was the time that I went on with Eve Franks. That was the early stages of
That was, that was early.
the early
But I
stages.
can't remember when it was, and I don't think it was Eddie Brooks's son's marriage.
Definitely, positively, absolutely.
Because Ben
Whatever.
and Ben and I would not be invited to that affair. The Brookses affair.
Well, maybe you came to pick me up.
We were at the affair. We left before dessert to take her down to the
Gert,
Whatever
don't
it was.
argue with me.
Whatever it was, that's... Hey,
Yeah, it was,
move on,
it
move
was
on.
Eddie Brooks' son's wedding.
Where's bar mitzvah? Whatever. What was life like? I'm trying to figure out what life was like, how different it had been from when you were 1920s, now in the 1940s. What was the biggest
Well, now wait a minute.
change
You have
from-
to go past the 40s.
Okay, to the 50s.
You have to go past the 40s
To the
because
60s.
during the 40s you had the war.
Okay.
Okay?
I'm talking
From
about
1941 to 45.
in
All
the
right,
50s
that was-
now.
All right, we'll go to the end of 45. Mark was born,
Mm-hmm.
the end of 45. I moved into the apartment, then started to work.
Now this apartment,
Yeah,
this apartment that you're in.
yeah.
Right.
You no longer had coal heating? You have to shovel
Then
coal?
it was heat, no, then it was supplied heat.
Supplied heat.
Right.
What else had changed in the way your daily lives were? From when you were a little kid to now your first apartment here when you come after World War II. Anything?
No, well, you had heat before that.
You had heat.
You had furnaces. It wasn't a
There's no
coal
horse and
stove.
buggy anymore.
Huh?
There's
but
no
we
horse
had-
and buggy anymore. People have
When we were
cars.
on Ridgewood Avenue, didn't we have the coal in the,
Yes.
down in the basement?
That's right, yeah,
We had the
furnace.
coal furnace.
Yeah, coal furnace.
They used to deliver the coal through the window in the
Right.
basement. When
Oh,
right
that
in
was
the
on
bed.
ration. That was ration.
Going
Coal
over
was
to-
ration. And Grandpa also
Sure,
had
all fuel.
somebody that he knew that he'd get as much
Oh,
coal.
thank goodness, I hate the cold. But they used to have to get down and,
Right, shovel coal.
shovel
We used
that.
But now in the
And
50s, now
Grandpa
the
used to
50s
go
are around.
with a bucket, you know, a couple of buckets, bring it up, you know, and, oh no, we had a furnace in the
In the
cellar.
basement, that's what
Yeah,
I
that's
said.
the first.
But now we're getting into the 50s now.
Now, Shepherd Avenue was what?
Uncle Buddy's
Same thing.
6 years
We
old.
didn't have a coal furnace in Shepherd Avenue. Did we have oil
Oil?
on Shepherd Avenue?
Probably had someone deliver oil tanks.
Automatic heat, furnace.
Of what? Oil?
Oh,
Gas?
yeah, yeah,
The guy came and delivered the oil?
yeah.
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 We didn't have coal on Shepherd Avenue.
What other, besides fuel, besides inner heat, what other change? Now everyone's got cars.
Of course, we didn't have
Telephones.
Mine we had downstairs, I had
I don't think we had
a
telephones on Ridgewood Avenue.
and a
I
trunk.
think we did.
It's nothing. So we didn't have coal in those things.
I always,
Stuff
I
in the
always
folders.
Yeah,
remember.
that's-
On call.
Alright, I always remember
Didn't
the
you
telephone.
change
It is. We're off call.
on
No,
Ridgewood
when we bought
Avenue?
it.
When you bought it, was oil?
Shepherd Avenue we
Oh,
bought
yeah.
it.
Okay, we're off on the heat.
Because I was thinking.
Telephones.
When did we get the on Ridgewood Avenue we had a telephone, because we had a Bigelow number, I remember that,
Yes.
Bigelow 3
Yeah.
something.
What is Bigelow
you-
3, Mom?
That's the telephone, the
The exchange.
exchange.
What do you mean the
Bigelow.
exchange?
Like now we go do number, you have an area code
What
now.
is Bigelow? You gotta type in all the whole word Bigelow?
BI3.
So it's a way of remembering the first two digits of your...
They didn't have it by numbers. When we moved into Pennsylvania, 343
was diamond.
was Diamond 3, DI3.
But there were still numbers on it was still 3, 4.
Yeah, but you just hit
Remembered it as...
the word.
So it was just a way to
Yeah,
remember.
Gert had Waverly, then we switched, we got a Waverly after that.
Just trying to-
Yeah.
But it was just a way to remember what the first two digits were. And you were Diamond 3.
They just told us that was our phone number. Your phone number is Bigelow 3014 or whatever, 2568, whatever the heck it was. You remember your phone numbers? No. You know what? Herbie would be able to tell you your phone numbers if he was here.
Probably.
He knew all everybody's phone numbers.
Andrew remembers our phone number. From Newark and Hillside.
So,
But I don't remember
do you remember
that.
getting your first phone in your first house? Do you remember getting a telephone? Do you remember when the telephone came out and people were...
We always had a telephone.
You always had a telephone?
Yeah, I always
On
had a
High Street?
telephone. We had a phone in the store. So I always had a
The
phone.
big long black neck.
Yeah.
With an operator you had to talk to?
Oh, they used to have the party lines. I remember
That's
that.
right.
Yeah.
I thought
What was
Avenue
that?
I had
Yeah.
a party line.
What was a party line?
Somebody else.
Three
It's like an extension in somebody else's house.
And if you picked up the phone and somebody was talking, you couldn't, you had to wait till they got through talking.
You shared one telephone line with another house?
By three people.
No, two.
Two only?
Two others.
Two.
Two.
Only
Just
two.
Two total?
Only two. Right.
You could pick up the phone, somebody would be talking, you couldn't dial, you had to hang up. And sometimes if you had an important call, you'd say, would you mind getting off the phone? I have to make a very important call. And if they were nice, you never knew who they were. You didn't have to know who they were. And if they were nice, they'd hang up, otherwise they'd say, no, I'm busy, I'm talking, I don't want to get off.
How
You know
many
what's
times
funny is I grew up, when we were on vacation in Ontario, my friend's house along the lake, they all had party lines. Remember when we used to film? Yeah.
Well, basically, you know how that came in. This was after the war.
Depression time when you were...
No, this was after the war, 45. That's when you had the party phones because they didn't have enough lines. Everything went into the war effort.
Because the difference in price.
No, I wanted a private phone. I couldn't get it.
So in the 20s, when you were growing up, when you were 7 years old, 1922 or 21, you had a phone in your house growing up as a kid?
Not in the store, you would say.
We had a phone in the store. No, then we had one in the house.
I don't even know why you had a
We had
phone
it
in
in
the
the house.
store. People couldn't afford phones.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. We always had a phone in the store. Always. Always. And we had a phone upstairs.
In the stores back then, you could go in and charge everything, you know, just they added it to your account. You used to have accounts, didn't you? You didn't have to go in and pay cash, I mean, to a local store.
What? What?
You ran an account?
You ran up, like someone came in to buy something in the store,
You wrote it in the book.
they put it in the book, and then
No,
they paid you
no.
later.
No, we didn't have that. They paid cash. I don't think my father carried credit. I don't think he did. You're talking about grocery store.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, some of the grocery stores did that.
And I remember
But we
going
didn't.
into shoe stores where you used to, at Floridate, what the heck was that? You put your foot in this machine and you could see if the shoes
Yeah,
fit.
yeah.
What was that called? It started with an F.
I remember it was
Did
on Barton Street.
Probably on
Warshine.
boat. No, it was
Barton
this
Street.
type of a machine. You'd
Oh, I
stand
don't know.
up and you put try on your new shoes. You put your feet in this machine and you look in, and it was like an X-ray machine.
Yes.
And you could see where the shoe ends and
But
where your
something-
toes were on the machine.
But they
in
just
the shoe.
because there was something
Probably we'll all be
dangerous
crippled.
in that.
And no,
They just
I remember
they had
that.
to pull them out
Never
because
did
they were
that.
dangerous. Something.
Fluoroscope, they called it. They
Oh.
fluoroscoped through the
Really?
shoe. Honest to God.
Yeah.
Honest to
In
God.
the
Not my kids.
shoe store on Bergen and Shepherd Avenue.
You must have been in
There was
Illinois
one
at
on
the time.
Clinton Avenue too, I think.
You're
By
probably
the
in
store.
Yeah,
Illinois.
near Daddy.
Yeah, the store.
Yeah.
What?
Well, those are two expensive shoe stores. You might get the children's shoes there.
What about television? When did you guys get your first television?
Oh, God.
That was after the war.
I got mine on Shepherd Avenue. It was a small one with a big bulb to enlarge a
It looked like a
magnifying.
fishbowl that was stuck on the front of
A
it.
bubble. They
It was a
called
big
it a bubble.
bubble.
It was a small TV,
Magnifying.
and the magnifier was as big as the.
And boy, everything got contorted. Or distorted, whatever the word
No,
is.
it wasn't.
Oh, you didn't see. I mean, you got it. I mean, you got this round thing. You're not going to see like the flat image of
It
things.
wasn't
It's
distorted.
It was not distorted, Bobby. You saw a flat image. All it did was magnify it.
It wasn't
You saw
distorted
nothing on the
something.
side. It was a bubble, and it magnified the screen. So you saw it larger, but it was not distorted.
No?
No, it definitely
No,
was not
no.
distorted because you couldn't watch it if it was distorted.
It still wasn't the same.
No,
as the
it was
flat
exactly
screen.
the same.
Okay.
It was
Alright.
exactly the same. But then they started to enlarge the screens, and you did away with the bubble.
Yeah.
Because the
And it was
first
black and
screens
white.
were small.
And there was nothing to watch on TV except Uncle Milton.
Oh,
And
God,
Farmer
when that
Gray.
came out, wait a minute.
Every Thursday.
Tuesday nights. Tuesday night
Tuesday
was
night,
Uncle
Uncle
Milton. Milton Berle.
Tuesday night, everything closed down. Everything stopped. When Milton Berle came on TV, we had an organization that we belonged to, and we were meeting Tuesday nights, once a month. Nobody came to the meeting. Do you remember that?
Was
The
that the
Foresters?
Foresters?
I remember having a Tuesday meeting.
What were the Foresters? What was the Foresters?
Independent Order Foresters.
What is-
It was a Canadian
What was Canadian?
They started, I don't know, after the war.
It was more or less like an insurance, it's a
That's right, it was
insurance.
insurance. I had an insurance
If you
policy.
bought an insurance policy, you belonged to this group. And if you were in distress, you had a certain signal. I was once like the president, I forget what they called him. It was different names in the president, but one year I was president there. And we used to meet on Clinton Avenue above a furniture store in the loft.
This is after World War II?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They got to get in.
And then that's where they got through the cemetery plots, was through the forest,
right.
wasn't it?
And when you go to the cemetery to see,
They
they
bought a
have
hole.
two posts, and Grandpa's name is, in charge of it. There's a lot of list of members that were there, that are in charge of that. But now it's been all sold back to the cemetery. Because, Grandpa's there to take care of it. Sam Levin was there. He was the attorney, a personal friend and an attorney. He belonged.
name is
So
on that
there was
post
nobody to take
also,
care
isn't
of it.
It's,
So they
yeah.
sold all the unused plots. They gave it to them, gave it to the cemetery to do it.
They gave the plots to the cemetery?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
Whatever, before we gave it to them, a lot of Billy's friends bought some.
Billy's friends bought my plots.
They bought a lot of other
Maybe
plots.
they bought others,
Yeah.
but they also
There
bought
was
the
one,
plots
that
that
was
I had.
at the time it was
Somebody
negotiated.
died.
Yeah.
Get
Somebody
back to
died.
television. I remember when they used to have Friday night fights,
Yeah.
and they'd go down, before we all had TV sets,
Yeah.
they'd go down to the store on Springfield Avenue where Jack, your
Jack Herman.
brother-in-law
Jack
had
Herman.
the store. They'd go down to the store Friday nights, and we'd go in and watch television and watch the fights there.
Oh,
I'd go
really?
down with the men just so I could say I saw television. Watch the stupid fights, Friday night fights. That was all. Well, I got to see TV.
Now we can't even get you to watch sports.
Especially boxing. Oh my gosh. But that was before we even had TV sets.
Now, any of these technologies, when they came out, did you think to yourself, this will never hit, this will never be big, why would I ever need a television set in my home? Or why would I need...
Oh no, we loved it.
No,
We
no.
loved it.
But computers, you can't find a use for today.
As far as I'm concerned,
Maybe if I was much younger, I would be interested. Right now, nothing,
Was the same true when you were younger and television was coming into your home? Were there people back in that day saying, what do you need a television for in your house?
No.
What do you need a telephone for in your house?
No.
What do you need?
No, we all welcomed those.
Everybody.
no.
Those
no,
improvements
no.
we welcomed.
No, there was nothing, nothing.
There wasn't a
like
lot of studying to do to learn it. Computers, you got to study.
Yeah.
You have to learn the programs. People today
If you
have a
grow
tendency
up
to be
with
afraid
it.
of it when they're older.
No, don't say that. I don't want it.
Right. So,
I
It's on
don't want
tape.
it because basically, right now, I don't find a need for it, and I don't find the time to sit down in front of it and look for different things. My days are occupied with different things. I don't have time to sit down and read a goddamn book.
In the bank, the computers came in just about when I was ready to retire. And they sent me down to the bank on Broad and Market Street.
Now, when you're talking computers, you're talking mainframe computers back in the 70s? You were retired what year?
25, 26 years ago was...
So mid-1970s, you're
Okay,
talking,
yeah.
just 1975, you're
That's
talking...
when the bank...
This is computers, we're talking mainframe computers, not
You're not
personal
talking
computers.
about the same computer.
Well, there's
No,
some...
I'm not talking about...
The
I'm talking about when the
computerization
banks
of the
were
banks.
becoming computerized.
Yep.
Ministern at that time wanted me to go, and learn that. So I went down and I said to myself, I watched it. It was in a basement, a certain temperature there, big machines that take care of all the banks, you know, at that time. So I saw it and I looked and I said, why do I have to go so involved? I'm going to retire in a year or two. I don't want to get involved. In fact, a few years before that, she wanted me to go back to Rutgers and take up courses in banking. I didn't want that either. I was happy with what I had. I was happy with the work and I didn't want to get any deeper.
You just wanted to chase bank robbers.
Chase robbers, yeah, 4 of them.
4 of them?
4 robbers.
And you chased all 4?
No, one I chased. After that I learned better.
The first robber?
The first, yeah.
He came in, what happened?
That was really a bad one.
What happened?
What happened?
Josh hasn't heard the story.
They came in.
A lot of people? How many people?
There was 4 robbers.
In Newark, New Jersey, right?
4 blackies. And they came in, you know, with guns under their armpit, you know, made us all go into the back and lay on the floor. And at the time, I was like in a side room. I was petrified. I didn't know what to do.
Like in the 60s?
Huh?
1960s? Late 60s, you think? I don't know. I'm trying to think.
Yeah. I don't know what to say. So I was in the back. I could have stayed there. If I took a chance, maybe I could have stayed there and avoided everything. But I was afraid that if they come through there and see me hiding, they might think I'm doing something. They would shoot me. So I walked out and joined the group on the floor. There was one little girl that was sitting in a high stool in front, entering things in the machine. And she didn't get off fast enough. Now, where they took us was the director's office with a big table in the back. It was a long walk. They pulled her off by her long hair on the floor and dragged her all the way through the whole place. There was a lookout cop across the street, and he was watching to see if there was any, you know, cops or anybody or anything around. So there was a parade, a mayor's parade at the time. Next to us there was a little park, and they were having some kind of memorial services there. So they came, so there was one policeman that sort of said it looked kind of fishy. So he walked in and was looking in the window to see what was going. The guy across the street shot him in the back. And he was crippled for life. They didn't kill him, but he was crippled for life. So then the cops started to run out, and they were running all over
the robbers started running out?
The robbers ran out, and they were hiding under porches and under different things. They caught 2 of them. We were supposed to go and to the when they were brought to trial to identify them, and we were so frightened that the girls in the office, you know, administrator also helped, could give us different clothes, you know, and put on funny makeup, you know, so they shouldn't recognize that we were petrified. So
did they see you when you went down to ID them?
I'm talking about the trial, when we had to go to trial. So, so finally that went, and they were sentenced to 30 years apiece, 2 of them. They never caught one.
What about the one you chased, though?
That was another one. He came in,
The robbers.
he was alone. He was a loner. He came in and he, you know, demanded money. And they.
Did he have a gun?
He got money.
Did he have a gun show?
Yeah, he shot the gun in the wall as a warning because they should hurry up and give it to him. Now we had the tellers here. Then on the side there was another office where you can go through. So he went. He got the money and was going out, and I came out that way. That was the first robbery that occurred. Then I went out, and he was going up the hill, and he crossed the street and he went up the hill. I stood on this side of the street and went up the hill too. And I thought maybe if he got in the car I could see his license plates or something. Well, he must have had somebody in the car. He got in and it went with the, you know, burning of the tires, and he escaped. So when the FBI men came and they dug the bullet out of the wall and put it in the hand and he showed it to me, he says, Never do that again, he says. They come and you give them what they want.
She had diarrhea for 2 days afterwards.
Which was the robbery when I walked in? You were all handcuffed.
That was the one.
Which one? With the single
that
one?
was, no, that was another one. That was 2 black men. They dressed up in business clothes, and they came to the door, and Mr. Matty was, was waiting for the time to open, and they so Matty sort of opened it slightly, and the 2 fellas said, "We want to come in, So Matty said, "It's not open yet." He says, "Oh yes, it is, And they came in, and they handcuffed us. That's when Aunt Gertie was working at the bank at that time, and
She showed up late.
They got money too. But those 2 we never caught.
No.
Those 2 were never caught. But when the police came later on with the cutters, or we were all handcuffed. Gert, I'm standing here handcuffed.
No, you were out of the handcuffs when I came in. You were not handcuffed when I came in. I said, "What's going on?" This was after the handcuffs were taken off.
And so anyway, so they came
You let
with
them in
big
very
cutters,
early.
and they cut it, and my wrists were bruised for days after that.
How much were you making at the bank?
Not enough to cover that.
Oh, jeez.
Didn't pay.
And
I don't think I don't even think they gave him any insurance policies either.
And what about the last one? That came with a paper bag to fill up the paper bag, and he had that big gun under his armpit, and it fell down. And I identified him. You didn't recognize from the pictures what he looked like.
Where was that?
Which
At the
bank
bank.
did we work in?
I worked in 2 banks with you. One up in South Orange and one on Clinton
That
Avenue.
was the last one, Gert, on South Orange. That was the last bank. It was the last.
We were the only 2 on, you mean when we were the only 2 on the
That's-
floor?
That's right. That's right.
You
can't-
ID'd him?
I sure did identify him. And then he, 2 years later, they caught him in another bank and they killed him.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I
He
was
came
there.
alone. He came alone. He had a silver gun, and it was under the armpit, and he was full of paper bag, and the gun fell down.
How about the gun was shot?
That gun was not shot.
How about the gun was shot and they heard it downstairs? And nobody would come up.
Nice security you got.
We were both there. We get different opinions.
Hey, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Wait, she retired 26 years ago.
I retired 20.
Okay, that was like mid-70s?
She retired before I did.
She's a lot older.
I retired and I stopped working in January of '77. And when did you retire?
26 years ago. 75?
Well, kind of brought this up a little bit, kind of brought a question for you. I guess during your lifetime you've seen a lot of changes in race relations, advancements among the right of the whole desegregation, the equality of blacks and whites. You've lived through that, a lot of that, the civil rights movement in the 60s. What was your view on that growing up, and has that changed? Do you think blacks and whites are equal? Did you when you were growing up?
I feel they're equal, but some of them, when I see a white and black couple,
Now, growing up, I mean, honestly, you didn't feel that way as a kid, growing up.
as a kid, I don't think you saw that much of it. There weren't that many blacks.
Okay.
and-
She's talking about the couple. She didn't see much
Not
of
the couples, I meant the equality. You
I was
you lived in the
never-
north, so it wasn't...
I never was against I was never against the blacks. I felt,
But as soon as they live in our
if they
neighborhood, we move out.
I felt that color wasn't that important, unless they mix white with black. But amongst themselves, they're very nice. There's plenty of lovely black people. I never was against that.
And Gert?
You've got to realize the first blacks that came in were lovely people. I lived with them.
These are the ones that came from the South.
That's right. This is when Ellen Steen was running for mayor in Newark, New Jersey, and he imported the blacks into Newark to vote for him.
He was a black
He was
politician?
white, he was
Okay.
Jewish.
Jewish.
Ellen Steen
Steen,
was
okay.
Jewish. See, the neighborhood that I moved into when my mother and dad bought the store was basically all Jewish. And little by little, the blacks came in. This was quite a few years later when I was all grown up already. And they were very nice. In fact, I went to school with a couple of black children. And one of them, Ulysses, I remember his name, Ulysses Stevens. Euless Stevens. I used to call him Ulysses Stevens. He was my best friend. I had a second grade teacher, I think, a Mrs. Fenderson. She was black. She was lovely. The element at the beginning was entirely different. I had no problem if I missed the bus coming up Spruce Street from downtown that let me off on my corner to take a bus that went out to Clinton Avenue and let me off like about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 blocks from my house. I would walk up from Elizabeth Avenue to Barclay Street, and 3 blocks in Barclay Street to Spruce Street to my house. And as I'm walking along at 1 o'clock in the morning, many a time a black person would fall in step with me and say to me, "Where are you going, Miss Wurzel?" "I'm going home." "Okay, I'll walk down with you." The element was entirely different at the beginning.
But then?
Things changed. Then they came in, you owe me a living. They didn't take advantage of the schooling. Later on, everything was offered to them. It was just that you had to do it.
So,
They put up, I remember, my father had the store on one corner, and he owned the house there. The Prudential building, the Prudential, bought that whole area, the row of stores, down to, I think, 1 block, from Spruce Street to, I don't remember the name of the street down here. They were going to put up housing for the blacks. You had no choice, you had to sell them the property.
Is that what the projects were? Is that what the projects were?
No, this was not the projects. They were putting up housing for the blacks. And it was beautiful what they put up for them.
we're talking the 60s now. I'm trying to
We're
guess.
we're talking before that. I'm talking before that because I was married in 41.
Oh, okay.
I'm talking about the 30s. At the beginning, it was kept beautifully. Then the element changed. Forget it. Mark used to work down there on Putnam Street where I lived as an electrician. He went to work with a gun. when they put the projects up down there.
Now we're talking.
Now we're talking, right.
But I guess back to my question, do you feel that the races are, that, do you have it, okay, are you anti-interracial couples? And do you feel there is any sort of inequality between the two races? My mother does. I'm just curious if you...
You put words in my mouth.
Do I feel...
Oh no, I'm putting my own words in there.
Say that again.
Do you feel... I guess two things. I mean, would you discriminate against a black person in today's society? Would you be against an interracial marriage?
For your kids?
For your kids or anybody else?
Yes.
You know, that's a difficult question. As far as an interracial marriage,
I'm against it.
I'm not against it, but don't have children.
How come?
How come? Because you're putting a, what's the word I want to use? You're giving them a problem,
The child.
the child.
You don't think society's changed enough?
No, not enough. Not yet. Not enough. You want to get married, an interracial marriage, fine. Marry, do whatever you want to. Don't have children. Don't make it a problem for them. They're neither black nor white. The blacks
Do
don't
you
want
need to
the
be
white. What?
And you think they need to be one or the other? I mean, a child needs to be black or white,
The
needs to be
child
classified?
needs to be black or white, yellow or black. It's a problem for them. If they're light enough, we're talking black and white now, if they're light enough to pass as whites and they marry a white person who is not aware of their background, and down the line, one child is white, the second one is black, you're putting a strain on that marriage. You're putting a strain on that child. We're not ready for that yet. I don't think we are. And I said this, and I've said this for years. Do what you want to do. If you want children, adopt. Adopt either full white or full black. Don't mix them. So when they go out in the world, they're either white or they're black.
Mom,
Or
do you
they're
agree?
yellow.
Do I agree? You know how I feel.
How do you feel?
I don't approve of the intermarriages, the interracial marriages, you know that.
I'm against it.
You don't approve of interfaith either, so
No, it's worked out very well.
doesn't mean you approve of them.
I don't disapprove of them.
Well,
Now
that's a change.
anymore. I got that from my mother.
Your mother doesn't approve of it, or what? I mean, it's... Well,
Mhm.
yeah, she's so straight-laced. I know.
She is so way out.
That's what's good, because it's a good contrast, the two of you. But, I mean, your grandma, after seeing, let's see, at least 5 grandkids having interfaith marriages, one coming up which is interracial in an Asian American sense. Has your view changed?
Yes, I've changed because at the beginning, for quite a long time, I was in shock, you know.
Oh, I know.
But as I,
Of the interfaith marriage.
with the Whitney you're talking about,
Winnie too, but I'm going back to interfaith with Eileen and I, Michael and Melissa, and Eric and Elaine.
that I didn't
Dean
care.
and
I said,
Amy.
as long as you're happy, I didn't care. But
When did that theory change? About,
I thought we said that if they were happy.
well, no, I'm talking about like when I was dating. If I was to go with
God
the...
forbid.
At what point did you change your...
He was a no good Nick.
Wait.
Who's he? Who's he?
Don't go there.
Who's he?
But...
Wait a minute here.
We're not going there. We're not going there.
But maybe if you met somebody, a doctor, a professional, I couldn't resist them. I'd say, well, if they're happy.
No. You only wanted me to date Jewish boys.
Well, my first choice, yeah. But if I had no choice, I wouldn't throw you, I wouldn't disown you.
All right, but what I'm saying is, here you're saying,
As long as you're happy.
as long as you're happy.
I
At
say
what
that-
point did you get to that feeling? You know what I'm trying to say?
Yes, I know exactly what you're trying to say.
I'm sorry I got into this.
Oh, yes, you are, aren't you? You're turning very red.
I'm just saying that
All
you
right.
had met the right one.
All right.
All right, then I'd say
So if she had found a nice, non-Jewish guy,
Yeah.
and she's happy, you're
and
saying
I had no choice about them deciding to get married.
approve
I
it.
wouldn't disown her. I'd say,
you'd
well,
support
look,
her.
I'd say,
You would have supported.
Would you have made a wedding?
now you ask the question.
Well, back then, I'm putting it in the perspective of
You don't
1950.
know, you don't know, what certain things are, the connection, how we learn to like him. So this is a question you can't
Okay.
answer.
But what about with Winnie now?
With Winnie, she's a sweetheart.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you
But
can
it took a
support
lot
it,
of warming up to do.
and you're willing to support that interracial marriage.
I have to, it's not my choice.
Well, no, I mean you have a choice as to your support of it. I mean they're going to get married whether you support it or not.
That's right.
They're going to love each other, and they're going to get married.
Well,
they're
now
going to raise
I
children.
have to support it. And
Right.
I learned to like it because they're in love and they're happy.
Obviously, it's not your first choice, but you can support it.
Of course it's not.
So you can support an interracial marriage.
Well,
It can-
and
maybe it's not your first
that's
choice.
Already is one step higher already.
Well, no, I
Not
guess
black.
I
It's
guess-
shocking me more and more with the.
That'll be. We still got Steven. Our hope for Steven. He'll come home with a nice black guy who's not Jewish, and we're gonna watch you go over the edge. Okay?
I don't think that's going to happen.
You don't think he'll ever get married, huh?
Well,
Oh, Stephen?
Steven, how fun. I
I'd
hope he
like to
finds
see
a
your
nice
mother get
girl.
married again.
Who?
Yeah,
Who
I'd
brought
like to
that
see-
up?
We were talking about Steven,
I'm
but
just in general,
maybe she'll come home with a nice black guy, and then we'll support that.
No way.
They
No
won't have
way.
kids.
No way.
They won't have kids. As
Don't
long
worry about
as
it.
she's
It ain't gonna
happy.
happen.
Didn't you just say a few minutes ago, as long as she's happy?
But she won't do that.
But if she did, you'd support her. She's not going to go that far. And Gert's thinking about that one.
You know, I missed this whole conversation.
Uh,
You mean she should come home with a black one?
yeah, black guy. They can't have kids. You'd support it. As long as she's happy, you'd be okay.
I wouldn't be against
You'd
it.
support
I don't care.
That's it. And she's not willing to say that. She got done saying, as long as they're happy. But not for Bob. Not for Bob.
You're going to step
Grandkids,
too.
okay.
You're going to step too far. Come on, shake your knee.
Oh. All right.
No, because I don't think, as you say, they will have children.
No, they won't.
No,
No.
no.
No, they might adopt, and that's okay with me.
That's fine. That's fine. Well, how do you feel about this?
Even adopting a child
About my
through
mom
mixed
dating, I think it
marriage.
would
No,
be
no.
fantastic.
No.
Interracial marriages, if the two people are in love and they have children and they're willing to support the children, and they're they're going to have to understand that there are still bigots in this world, okay? But I don't think you let the bigots win. And I absolutely think I would fully support it.
They're having children.
Absolutely. Absolutely 100%. Yep. I think the world's
I feel
changing.
sorry for the children.
And I
It
think
isn't that I feel sorry for the children, that's all.
But the problem is, I wouldn't want to
The-
prevent the society from evolving because there are people in this world who will cause them problems.
But people will.
And people will. And
But
you want to know what?
people
I was
will,
told the
and they
same
will-
thing when I was marrying a Catholic girl.
No,
That
that
you know
I
what?
can see.
You're
That
going
I
to
can
have
see.
problems. But I was told the same thing. You're going to have problems. And I don't, and I disagreed. And that person was proven wrong. Even if she's sitting to your right.
Yeah, but that's different.
That is different. I agree.
That is entirely
Faith
different.
and absolutely, faith and race are very different.
A black and white couple got married, don't have children, but they just did adopt a black or a white. I think there's our problems there too.
No, then there's no problem.
Yes,
The child,
if they date somebody, they wouldn't want to the person, the white one wouldn't want to date because her parents are black and white, or they.
No. I said if they adopt, you adopt either a black or a white or a yellow.
All right.
But there's no racial.
But when they meet somebody and want to get married,
But they're black. They're black. Or they're white. Or they're yellow. There's no intermingling of different races.
My view is,
There's problems,
society
though.
has to deal with it. Society has to learn to deal with interracial marriages. And they will.
They will.
And the children,
Interracial
and
marriages are fine.
And the kids of those marriages.
The kids yet are a problem.
Well, I think
The
society
kids-
has a problem with them.
Yeah,
They're
but you're
the
not
problem.
going to change society
I
yet.
think it will, but I think it does.
Oh, come on, it's going to take years and years and years. Come on.
Look what's happened in your lifetime. Look how much society has
That's
changed in your
different.
lifetime. No. Look
That's
how much
different.
society has changed in your lifetime. And maybe a generation's going to have to go through it and have those problems. But I think afterwards society...
Many generations. Many generations.
I hope not.
I think
he
so.
looks as though he's sleepy. Size of
Josh was tired.
He's not tired.
Does he feel all right?
Yeah. Yeah, well, this conversation is over his head,
Yeah,
and he doesn't understand it.
right now. So, when he comes home with it...
You'd be surprised how little kids can absorb. They're smarter than you think
All right, go with Mom.
nowadays.
See what she's doing. Okay. Other questions for you guys?
I mean, now
Homosexuality.
Mom, Dad wants to know what you're doing for dinner.
What are your views on that? Homosexual
I
relations.
can't blame the person, because I don't think they have any control over it. They're born that way.
So you support it? And you
I definitely do.
Grandma?
I definitely do.
You're not
It's their
against
lifestyle.
So if one of your children is gay, that wouldn't be a problem for you?
I can't help it. I love my
understand that.
child, and I want him and her to be happy.
Mom?
I have no choice.
I really don't have a problem with that. And I don't
It is
have any
the-
problem with them adopting kids either, to be honest with you.
Wanted to get that?
You know, I had a discussion. What's the name of the doctor that I used to take your father
Let's
to?
go. Oh,
And Ben went to him too.
Gold.
No,
You were. It was a Goldstein Gold.
no. Anyway,
13 minutes on the tape. Can you finish up? I told you I didn't.
What? Anyway, what?
I wanted David to hear this.
Go ahead, I'm sorry. 13 minutes on tape, go ahead.
No, I wanted you to hear this. There was a doctor, I used to take, not Joe. No. No, your father. Your father
my
to the
father.
doctor. Yeah. I used to take, I forget his name.
Her father's name?
No, the doctor's name. In
Oh.
fact, Ben used him for a
Okay.
while. I used to take her father to this doctor. Very nice person.
We
And
went to him too.
who?
We went to him too.
Okay,
No,
whoever
I
he
never
is.
did.
I said, we.
Whoever it was.
I don't know.
Joe and I went too.
I
Whoever it
don't
was.
remember. I had a discussion with him. I don't remember how the discussion started. And I brought my father-in-law over, and it came up between the two of us in the waiting room. And about homosexuality.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked him what he thought of it or whatever. He says to me, you know, who's to tell who's right and who's wrong with these people? And he said to me, there's a book on the shelf there. Take it out and read it. He told me the name of the book and I took it out. And I started to read it while he was examining my father-in-law. And as he said, they had no control over it. These people had no control over their emotions and the way they feel. And whatever. So how can you hold them accountable?
I agree.
Yeah.
I'm just very surprised to hear this panel all on the same side on that.
In fact, my hairdresser,
Well, they all
and he tells me, and I know his different, I went through 1, 2, I'm on the third one now with him.
third partner.
Third partner.
You hear all
Right.
these hard luck stories?
No,
with partners?
no. Give him the utmost respect. And we talk, but I don't go into it deep. It's his own private life.
A few more questions. I'll throw some things out there and just kind of respond to it however you like. Did you ever think you'd live to see man reach the moon?
Never gave it a second thought until it happened. You didn't think about it, but when it started, and you're saying, oh my God, that's what I say. I lived through
I
God
think
knows
we're
what.
wasting money. I think they should take all those billions and trillions of dollars and spend it down here and forget about up there.
When it happened though, did you think at the time in the 60s, when man first walked on the moon,
Oh God, that was something.
pretty
There was
amazing?
an item that they say that may not be true.
Well, it is true. they say the Holocaust may not be true too. There are wackos all over.
Oh yeah.
But man has walked on the moon.
Were you there?
Yeah, I was there. You can argue the Holocaust didn't happen because you weren't there. You know, I mean, you can't go around that. Few wackos. What was, I guess, what was the reaction when man walked on the moon? What was your? Do you remember? Do you remember
Wonderful.
that well? What you were
Oh
doing
sure,
at the time?
I remember.
Blinking.
It's got 5 minutes left. Huh? What happened?
Wonderful.
Where were you when it happened?
Who knows where I
Watch.
was?
Right
I
at
don't
the
remember.
television set. Everybody
Of course,
was,
everybody was sitting
everybody
there.
was sitting there, like
That's
staring
right.
at the TV, watching every second of it.
It was a wonderful, wonderful.
Sorry, go ahead.
My mother died, your grandmother. When there was hurricanes or tornadoes or weird things happening, of course the men went to the moon. They messed up the atmosphere and screwed everything up. And that's why we had such weird weather.
That's what I say.
Oh, you say that too?
That's right. That's what I say. I wish they would stop it already.
Well, they broke through the ozone layer.
They made holes in it for us.
Yes, they did.
Okay. What
Well-
else you got?
Kennedy's assassination.
Oh boy,
That was a shame.
I knew where I was at that time. I was pregnant with Marla and working in the office. And I had just gotten on the switchboard. We used to, I'd fill in for the switchboard operator if she had to go to the bathroom or something. I picked up the phone, the call came in, and somebody said to me, the president's been shot. And it's like, whoa, and then you stand up and you holler in the office, and everybody was like in a state of shock. Absolutely incredible. And then for days afterwards, it was funeral. I mean, it was like the whole country was in a state of funeral. Depression. And that's all there was on television. All there was, I mean, every time I turned on the television, it was just the depths of despair when he got killed. How did you feel?
The funniest thing is, I will tell you this. I remember where I was. I was in the car riding home. I went to the beauty parlor after work, so we didn't hear it down at the bank. And when I got in the car to ride home, I turned the news on, and that's when I heard it. Riding home. And coming into the house, this must have been after 6. Maybe about 6:30. I came in, in a state of shock. go upstairs and get a steak shocker.
Let's just believe. It's like,
Yeah.
think about it, think about it. And then you see all these newsreels and they like, they're taking pictures of him in the open convertible and falling over, and it's like, whoa. Where were you, Ma?
I don't remember.
You don't remember. What about when Elvis Presley died?
Elvis is dead?
Elvis is dead. I just heard that on the news.
He
I
is.
just heard it recently. Anybody remember where they were?
He's not dead.
You don't remember?
He's still alive.
I don't remember.
We were up in the Poconos.
Isn't that crazy how people still believe in that?
We were in the Poconos, and we had gone out to a restaurant. We remember we used to rent a place in the Poconos a couple of times. We were out at a restaurant, and it had like an Italian, it was a real hole in the wall with red and white checkered thing, and they had the radio playing, and they announced over the radio that Elvis had died. But I remember that, and I was not a follower of Elvis at all. I mean, he could have.
Well, you happened to hear it, and that's it.
But the shock of that was, stood out in my mind too. I never forgot where I was for that.
Yeah. And do
You
you
were
know? Do you remember when Ruby shot? What's
Bobby?
his name?
No, the guy Oswald.
Oswald.
Yeah.
I was with Uncle Ben Sunday afternoon, and he stopped off at one of the places, that he checked out. He went in, and I sat in the car listening to the news, and they were transferring Oswald from one cell to another, and you heard the gunshot, the gun going off, and you heard, oh my God, Ruby shot Oswald, because he was right then and there. Ben came out, and I said to him, Ruby just shot Oswald. And then it was all over the news like that. But I was listening to it at the time.
Yeah, you heard it live.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, it was being televised. The
Yeah.
transfer.
Yeah,
And,
it's a night was one.
that's right.
and the Bobby Kennedy too. With that assassination.
Yeah.
That was terrible.
What's the biggest tragedy that has occurred during your lifetime, I guess? If you had to rank it in magnitude. Pearl
What
Harbor, Kennedy,
They're all bad. They're all
September
bad.
11th.
Right now is the World Trade Center.
They're all bad.
Right now, that's the worst.
Well, this really is bad. But I mean, each one at the time it happened
Was the worst.
Sure.
was bad. It was bad.
This is the worst, and I'm concerned about what's going to happen until the war is over. We're in the war now. What'll happen when it'll happen. They shouldn't start drafting our boys, and, it's a problem.
It's a different kind of war, Sarah. I don't know whether they're going to draft the boys. It's not an all-out war the way World War II was.
I know it's a different war. You never know what they decide to do.
Who's your favorite president? If you had to pick one.
That's alive or dead?
He doesn't.
That
Well,
you lived through.
I like Kennedy. I did like Kennedy.
He wasn't there long enough to really make an impression. I don't know.
Mom, anybody?
You know what? I had no problem with Clinton.
I think he was good.
What he did in his private life was her
Thank you,
problem.
Bobby. Thank you. Well, that's the way I felt about it, and I felt that the press was very unfair, and the right wing was even worse.
He could have been a sleazeball, I don't care, but what he
That's
did for the
right.
country, I mean, I lived nicely. I had no problem with him. And if she wants to keep him, that's her problem. Any other woman would have thrown him out on his ass,
I
but
don't know. I don't know.
You wouldn't have, if your husband was doing that?
I don't know, I'm not in
And I
that
can't
situation, I
stand
can't
Bush.
make any.
Right now, you know, he's getting
George W.
the like more better. But he has that silly grin on his face, he's like an idiot.
That's his mannerism. It isn't him, it's the people behind him, Sarah. He doesn't know his ass from his elbow.
You're right. He doesn't know.
No.
But fortunately, he's got good people
Oh,
behind
yeah.
him.
Oh, yeah.
I said, like I said, his father's gonna run the country. Father's
Not his father,
It's not
his
his
mother.
father.
His
That's-
mother.
All right. The best event, world event that's happened during your lifetime. The fall of the Berlin Wall, peace in the Middle East, inventions, I don't know, what man walking on the moon?
everything came casual, you know, everything
He
was
can't pick
interesting.
anything out. He can't pick anything out.
Birth of your
As the
children.
best. Wow, that's something else.
Compare from when I was born to now, you can't pinpoint
Is life
anyone.
better?
Sure, life is better.
It's easier. Is it better?
It's a hell of a lot easier.
Is it better?
Oh, certainly.
Sure.
With the modern conventions, in
Is
the
everything
kitchen.
better?
Yeah. Do you,
Have
do
we
you
haven't-
picture your wife scrubbing diapers in the
But
tub?
aren't there, have we given up anything? I mean, are families still as close as they were back
No.
then? I mean, is that something that's a negative?
Hmm?
Is that a negative in your mind? Is that something that...
Families tend now to scatter. They're not together. Years ago, when I got married, I didn't want to stay out in Illinois. We had our family. We were all together. All the kids were together. They were all brought up together. My house was open house. Billy, Buddy, Bobby, I never knew. My nephew Alan. Debbie, Stuart, you never knew who was going to be there. I would cook for 4 and sometimes end up with 7. It was different. The kids knew one another.
That's something that we've lost. Anything else we've lost? Anything else?
We've lost it. Well,
We've got a couple minutes. I'm trying to figure out.
that was industry. You know, you're working here and you're working there and you're working there, you know, and the families tend to separate. You can't help
Well,
that.
so that's what I said earlier in the program here.
Yeah, you can't
Where,
help that.
you know, about buses and trolleys and things. We didn't need it.